Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, love bugs. Again, I am tuning in from Stone Mountain, Georgia, just for you, bringing you a little nature to your life. So I hope you can hear the birds tweeting and the leaves and acorns falling and all that good stuff. And I hope it is not a distraction for you, but maybe something of a pleasantry for you today. That is my hope and my goal today. So thank you for tuning in, especially for those of you who are tuning in live. And if this is the replay, go ahead and let me know somewhere that you tuned in. Hashtag replay gang, right? But let me know where you are tuning in, where you are listening from, so that way I can give you a shout out. I definitely want to give a shout out to my people in Columbus, Ohio for topping my charts as being one of the number one cities on my list of listeners. That is awesome, especially because that is where I was born, where I was a seed planted. And I want to appreciate all of you for tuning in today, especially you, Love Bug. I wouldn't be doing this if this was not for you. So, as always, we are going to have some food for thought, and then we will roll into our conversation today about being bossy. And I might have a little something for you at the end. So, hold on tight. Make sure that you have your pen and paper ready so you can take some notes. So let's get this party started. I have a quote that says that advice is seldom welcome, and those who want it the most always like it the least. I got to re-emphasize that last part. That those who want it the most always like it the least. I know you know what I'm talking about. People really do desire advice. People really are looking for confirmation, they're looking for guidance, but they don't want you to tell them what to do. But yet, they want to know what you think. And typically, if they want to know what you think, it's because they really do value your opinion. They value your experience. They value your words of wisdom. They value your perspective, even if perspective completely differs from theirs. If someone ever asks you for advice, it's because they value you. Advice is seldom welcome, though. I used to be the queen of giving out unsolicited advice. And I can't say that I have completely gotten over it. I think I still do it anyway. But now I'm a little more mindful of it. And I catch myself saying, "Do you mind if I share something with you? Well, do you mind if I give you some suggestions?" Because at least that creates the framework for me to give some advice or give suggestions, give options that they may not have thought of. And typically that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some options that you hadn't thought of. I'm going to definitely give you a perspective that you have not thought of or that you did not want to think of. But either way, please believe we'll be there and we'll get there at some point. But I was thinking about, I want to say there's a scripture that says that a wise man seeks counsel. A wise man seeks counsel. And you would think, well, why would a wise man seek counsel? He's already wise. He knows things. He's knowledgeable. He's seasoned. But a wise person, a smart person, knows that there's so much more out there. There's so much that they really don't know. What I feel like is the more I learn, is the more I figure out I don't know anything. And that seems almost like an oxymoron. Like if I'm learning more, then I should know more, right? But no, I'm telling you, the more you learn is the more you figure out that you really don't know much at all. And there's so much more out there for you to learn. There's so much more out there for you to experience. There's so much awaiting you, love bug. But we have to be willing to seek it out. We have to be open to wise counsel. And wise counsel, not just counsel from anyone. You have to be careful of who you ask questions of or who you ask advice from. Don't ask advice from a person who doesn't have experience in that area because they typically, how can they tell you? Constructive criticism can only come from people who have constructed something or who have completely deconstructed it to a point that they can tell you how it was constructed. But typically, that's not the person that's offering you 2 cents. And just think about the value of 2 cents. I mean, really, what can you go buy with 2 cents? I know back in the day, you could go to the candy lady with 2 cents and get a piece of gum. But in this day and age, how valuable is 2 cents? And if we think about that, our unsolicited advice is only worth 2 cents. How about we just keep our 2 cents to ourselves? Because it won't be more valuable than 2 cents if it is sought out from us. And what that tells us is that when people are asking for our advice, asking for our perspective, that means we, Love Bug, are the wise counsel. So pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a fist bump for being wise counsel, for being wise enough that other people seek your perspective. They want to know your thoughts. They want to know your opinion sometimes. They want to know the facts and the experience that you've had in that area. Advice is seldom welcome, and those who want it the most always like it the least. And that's the other thing that happens sometimes. And you have to be ready for it if you are the advisor. Sometimes people ask for the advice, and then when we start getting it, they don't even take it, or they're resistant towards it, or they throw it completely out the window. And then often you may feel like, well, why did you ask me anyway? Well, just because someone asked our advice or asked for our counsel doesn't mean that they have to show it. It doesn't mean any of that. Good morning, sister. Thank you for joining me, Miss Kim. So we're talking about the people who are willing to take the advice, the people who are willing to seek the advice, and the people who are seeking advice from us. We want to be mindful of it all. And but most importantly, even if people seek advice from us, we want to make sure that we still put ourselves in a position to seek advice. Always be coachable. No matter what you're doing, no matter what industry you're in, always be coachable. That coachability can take you so much further when you are open to wise counsel, when you are open to advice. I think that you can learn from a monkey's uncle. You can learn from the person who is messed up enough to tell you, hey, don't do this. Advice doesn't always come from the most successful person. It can also come from the most unsuccessful person, because just the way success leaves clues, let me try that again. The same way that success leaves clues, failure leaves clues as well. So I'm going to leave that there, get a sip of water, and we're going to start our conversation for today. So, Love Bug, would you consider yourself a boss? Or would you consider yourself a leader? Somebody's probably thinking, well, what's the difference? Are you that person? Are you thinking, what's the difference between a boss and a leader? When I first thought about this conversation today, I thought I was going to compare being bossy to being a boss, because I've had a quick little conversation before in social media world about that in the past. The difference between being bossy and being a boss, because typically if you think about the word bossy, bossy has a very negative connotation, and bossy doesn't make people feel good either. Because typically, if somebody has ever called you a boss, have you ever been called bossy? Excuse me, not a boss, but have you ever been called bossy to your face, or maybe even behind your back? Now, what we probably wanted to hear in our ears is that, oh my gosh, you have great leadership skills. But typically, when somebody is saying that you are bossy, it's because you may be doing something like this: giving orders, giving command, giving answers versus seeking solutions. You use the words you and I. I did this. You take credit for things. You demand respect. You want the people, your subordinates, and maybe even your peers to fear you. You want them to respect you. You want them to respect what you say. You want them to bow down to what you say. That's being bossy. Where leaders are quite different. And today we're going to talk more about what a leader is versus what a boss is and does. Let's think about it. Think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Have you ever heard anybody say, man, dude was a good boss? MLK was a good boss. Have you ever seen that on a documentary or on any movie presentation or anything where somebody was talking about MLK, Dr. MLK? No. They said Dr. MLK Jr. was a great leader. Winston Churchill was never referred to as a great boss, but a great leader. So when we think about this, maybe we may want to reconsider what it is that we are thinking and operating from. I recently have encountered quite a few people who are operating in boss mode. And what I'm starting to learn so much more working with other leaders or people who are in leadership position is that they want to be the boss and they want to give off that boss energy, not really understanding what that really implies. A boss wants leaders. A boss wants followers. A boss wants minions. The boss is looking for the amen corner. Where leaders are not looking to create followers. Leaders are looking to create more leaders. Leaders operate from a place of servitude, not a place of altitude, looking down or looking over those whom they work with and possibly even work for. Have you ever noticed that person who gets into some type of position of authority, whether it may not even be a big position, it could be your it could be your, mall security guard, or it could be someone who is subbing in for someone. Let's say that one of your leaders is absent and you have to have someone fill in. It could be the visiting pastor. But there's this person who gets in a position that they're not normally in, and they start acting differently. They start flexing their muscles in a different kind of way that you haven't seen them flex before. They start flexing words and throwing words at you that they hadn't thrown at you in the past. They're blowing the whistle just a little too strongly at you. That crossing guard lady. You know who I'm talking about. She's got a little authority. We know that. We know we got to slow down when we go through her area. But she doesn't have to be so about it, right? That's a bossy person. That's not a leader. And how you know which one of those roles you are fulfilling the most is how people respond to you. Are the people on your team happy to do whatever it is that you say? Are they looking to you for direction? Do they seem like they really have more of a commitment to you than they do to the organization? That's how you know you're a real leader. And what I really want us all to consider is how we can walk in our leader energy more. Because the word boss does sound good. And I ain't gonna lie, it feels good to say I'm the boss. I've called myself saying I'm the boss. And typically when I hear myself saying that, I hear also that loud ringing of my ego. I'm the boss. I was listening to a lady who was talking about being a landlord and how her tenant challenged her. And she felt like, how dare my tenant challenge me? I'm the landlord. What I heard her say is, I'm the boss. I'm the boss of this property. And I'm the boss of what happens on this property. Who really wants to adhere to that? What's crazy is when you walk in your leadership skills, when you walk in your leader energy, when you walk in a real leader capacity, people will do things that they hate to do and they will gladly do it for you. So are you a boss or are you a leader? Do people in your organization follow your instruction gladly with a smile on their face, with reverence? Or are they grumbling around? Are your children grumbling around when you give them instructions? Or are they like, yes, mother, yes, father, yes, sir? That's how another way we can know, are we being bossy? Are we being leader? Are we making demands on people, commanding them around? Or are we guiding them and facilitating instead? Are we controlling the conversation? Or are we facilitating conversation? The thing that really gets me the most about somebody who wants to be in a boss position, you can always tell when somebody really hasn't been in a boss position, because if you really have been in a boss position, you really don't want to be the boss, because a real boss know that it ain't no easy job being the boss. Being the leader means having to make hard decisions. Being the leader means having tough conversations. Being the leader means that you have to look over the entire pack and look over them sometimes before you even look over yourself. Are you a boss or are you a leader? Are you someone who is dictating and pointing the finger? Or are you a leader that's saying let's, which means let us do this? A leader uses the words we, even though you messed up, we still say we messed up and we can do better. Even though in your mind, you know, you're thinking in your head, you can do better. But when you are a leader, you understand that you all are a unit, and that those following you are looking up to you, but you're also accountable for them. You're accountable for your sheep. A shepherd doesn't just get to lead the sheep, you're accountable for your sheep. And you must remain accountable to your sheep. A shepherd leads with a rod and a staff. The rod is the straight one, the staff is that hooked one, to hook them back in when they're going astray. But the rod, when they just need to get back in line. As a leader, you have to be able to do that. You have to be a loving disciplinarian. You have to lead with your heart, and from your heart space, from a place of love, not from a place of fear, not a place of fear of things not working out right, or people maybe not following through on their deadlines or on their commitments, on their roles and responsibilities. A leader is willing to get in the trenches with you and show you how to do it, not just tell you to do it. A boss tells you what to do. A leader says, let's see how we can get this done. Are you a boss or are you a leader? Are you bossy or are you demonstrating leadership skills? A boss doesn't care how you receive messages. They're going to give it how they give it, because that's how I am. Where a leader knows how to bend and flex the communication skills. A real leader knows how to bend and flex those leadership skills. You have to recognize who your people are and how you can address each one of them. If you're a parent of multiple children, then I know you know what I'm talking about. You can't handle all your kids the same. They don't all respond the same. Some of them, you can just look at them and they're scared. Then you have the child that you can have that nice talking to, and in that conversation, you can tell that your child gets it and they have clarity and things are going to be different. And then you have that child that, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to whoop them, or you're going to have to get serious. You're going to have to take something away, whatever it is. But there's more of a disciplinary and physical action that has to take place for them to really take you seriously. Because sometimes you have people in your camp who think you're just a talker. That's the other difference between a boss and a leader. A boss makes threats. A leader makes promises and gives you warnings. Are you a boss or are you a leader? I'm not sure what's going on behind us, and I don't know if you all can hear the commotion, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping all you hear is my sweet voice, encouraging you to be a leader, to walk in your leader role, in your leader energy, giving off that leader energy, even when you're sitting in the back of the room, just trying to be meek and mild and being the listener, being the fly on the wall, When you're a leader, people know. They know without you even saying anything. Leaders show up confidently. Leaders walk a certain way. They walk in a way where you see them coming. And you will feel like you want to walk behind them. You feel like you want to get information. That just, whoo, I feel it. I feel the energy. Information. When you want to get information, you get behind a leader because a leader is going to inform you of what's going on. A boss likes to make decisions and delegate them out, where a leader includes people on the decision making process. A leader includes you on the solution process. A leader would rather you propose the solution. A boss want to tell you what to do. Well, you were doing this. This ain't gonna work. You need to do this. A leader says, let's look at what we can do differently. A leader says, let's see how we can operate differently. And notice the we in there. Are you a we person, or are you a person that's constantly pointing the finger, whether it's at yourself or at the other people? I would love to encourage you all to start paying attention more of how many I's you use in conversation and how many U's you use in conversation. It's great to use I statements when we are talking to someone else. We don't want to be pointing the finger and pointing the blame. That's when we use the word we in the place of you. Then a leader uses the word we in the place of I when it comes to the credit of what's being done. Look what we did, not look what I did. And you could be the brains of the operation. I'm sure you are. If you're listening to this show, you probably are the brains of the operation. And you probably got some pinkies around you, but don't be playing pinky short. You need the pinkies in your life. Your plans don't happen without pinky. But you don't want to be a boss. You want to be a leader. You don't want to be just shoving people around with your words and with your energy. Invite them into your cause. Invite them to see your vision. A leader can communicate the vision to the people in a way that makes them want to get behind it because they see it so clearly themselves. When we're being bossed around, all we see is what you want us to do. We don't even see what the end result is. We don't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. We just know this is what you want us to do. Is there somebody in your life bossing you around? I bet you the person bossing you around probably is not even in a position to boss you around, but hey, they want to feel like the boss. Let them. While you sit back and be the leader. Let them wear all their energy out, all that boss energy, while you sit back and you reserve your leadership energy. Because a real leader knows when to strike. A real leader knows when to bust a move and when to be quiet, when to sit back. Are you a boss or are you a leader? Do you make people feel good about what they're doing with you and for you? Or do you create resentment in those who you are commanding and leading? Are you a boss or are you a leader? The decision is yours. So make it. So we have a few minutes left. Anybody that's live with me, go ahead and drop a question in the comment box and I'd be happy to answer it. If not, we're going to spend a few minutes in the world of metaphysics. Going once, going twice, going once, going twice, going once, going twice. All right. So let's talk about a little metaphysics. And if you don't know what metaphysics is, don't worry about that big fancy word. What it means is that you have the power in your mind to create, to destroy, to heal, to make yourself sick. And that is what I'm going to mention just briefly today, is that power in your mind and what it does. Your mind is the boss of your body. But you, my friend, are the boss of your mind. So I'm going to repeat that for the person who I just confused, in case that person is me. Your mind is the boss of your body, meaning that your body does what your mind says. So if you decide that you're tired of looking at something, next thing you know, you're going to notice that your vision is getting a little blurry. Just on the opposite side, if you feel like I'm tired of wearing glasses and I want to see clearly now, you will watch your vision improve because your body does what your mind says, because your mind is the boss of your body. It is the leader in the scenario. But your mind answers to a higher power. You can command your mind. You can command your mind into illness. You can command your mind into healing yourself. Only if you're willing. And if you didn't listen to last week's show about your will, do that. And then come back and listen to this show again. Our body is a willing vessel of our mind. And if we tell our mind a certain thing, a certain message, and we reinforce that message on a regular basis, that message will grow, that message will bloom, and that message will become a manifestation. Our minds are a fertile ground, and we can plant whatever seeds we want to plant in it. But what's important is, what seeds are we watering in our own minds? Are you watering the seed that you are a prolific leader, a profound leader that is here to make impact and change in this world? Or are you feeding yourself, feeding that boss seed? Because I bet you got a boss seed in your mind. And that's the one we tend to want to water more. We even read the messages that make that boss feel like some type of way. I want to encourage us to water the seeds of leadership in our mind. And how we do that is tuning into shows like this, making sure you're going back and listening to the old shows, finding me on YouTube and making sure that you are subscribed to that so you can get other messages that are not presented on Get High on Motivation. It is our job, our responsibility to cultivate our minds, to cultivate our success, to cultivate our wealth, because our wealth begins in our mind. Tell your mind that you are wealthy, and your mind will tell your body that you are wealthy. And you'll start walking wealthy. You'll start moving wealthy. You begin talking wealthy, and wealth will come your way. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for joining me here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. This is the Get High on Motivation show, where we get together every single week to get our mind, body, spirits right, to become 1% better in one area of our life. I thank you for being here with me and staying to the end. I'm your favorite motivator's favorite motivator, Mimi the Motivator. Be happy, be healthy, be you. I love y'all.